So yeah, the season's winding down. I don't know how many more opportunities we'll have to talk to. So just wanted to check in. Do you have any sense yet for like which guys will be back? Have they told you? And then also, is there like sort of a recruiting strategy, or is that sort of on hold because you got to figure out who's coming back before you deal with all that?
Well, I've talked to. I actually had dinner with 3 of my seniors the other day, and they're not focused on that right now. Sam Wardenberg had surgery today to remove the screws from his foot that had surgery. His focus is on his schoolwork and rehabbing his foot. Chris Likes is focused on rehabbing his ankle. Dan Gack actually had an interesting comment. He said, hey, I feel like this year I learned so much because I finally got a chance to play every game. So our conversation will probably be after the season, maybe giving the guys time, a week to digest and look back. And then after they look back, look forward, where they want to go, what direction do they want to go in. We've had conversations with Nasir Brooks, Cam McGusty, who else? Elijah Olaniyi. So we've got a lot of guys we've got to talk to. Rodney Miller, he's been out with the injury. So after the tournament is over, give the guys maybe a week and then sit down and talk with them about their futures.
Next up, we'll go to Michelle Kaufman from the Miami Herald. Michelle.
Hey, Jim. I wanted to ask you, with all the injuries that you've had this year, have you ever had a team that was more injured than this one? And do you think it's completely bad luck, or do you think maybe there was something with the strength and conditioning program, or you think it's just bad luck that so many guys got injured for such a long period of time?
Well, Michelle, quite honestly, this is the second year in a row.
Mm-hmm.
But this year is quite a bit different than any other season because we didn't work out at all in April, May, June, and most of July. So I don't blame COVID or anything. I think there was some very freakish injuries. Earl Timberlake's injury I'd never heard of before. Sam Wardenberg's, I never heard of that before. Have you ever heard of a Liz Frank fracture? No, it's just not normal. The Chris Like sprained ankle, I think, is very unusual because a sprained ankle is normally, a couple of weeks, maybe even just a couple of days, and it turned out to be the whole season. So we've had some very strange circumstances, and I think those guys were very frustrated by it. I was certainly disappointed that we didn't have the team that we recruited, that we got a chance to coach in July, August, September, October, and not ever playing a single game under full strength. I've also had teams, just to know it's not me and what we do in practice, I've had teams where we've had the same start lineup every game of the season, the same substitution pattern. So when we won the ACC championship in 2013, there was really only one change in the starting lineup, and there were no changes in the rotation. Reggie Johnson broke his thumb at Christmas time in Hawaii. Julian Gamble moved into the starting lineup. Other than that, there were no changes that year at all, and we do the same things in practice every year. You can look at my practice plan from January of 2013, and it looks just like the practice plan in January of 2021, with the exception of how many guys are available. In 2013, in mid-January, we only had one guy missing, Reggie. This year, we had 6.
Up next, we have Chris Stock from Inside the U. Chris.
Coach, the game on Friday, just your sense of your team. Boston College obviously been struggling through some things too, but just your sense for your team to end the losing streak, to get a win, to end the regular season.
Well, I think for both teams, Chris, this is a very big game. We've lost too many in a row. We don't want to end the regular season on a losing note. Boston College has gone through a coaching change. They've had some injuries. They've had some pauses due to COVID. We both want to go into the ACC tournament on a positive note. They crushed us up there, so I'm sure they're very confident they can do it again. And I think our guys are, disappointed with the way we played up there, and hopefully going to want to bounce back and kind of even the score.
From the Miami Herald, Barry.
Hi, Jim. As good as you are at your job, has there ever been a time this year where you've said to yourself, why do I need this aggravation? We've had horrible luck now this year. Obviously, FBI investigation a couple years ago, injuries this year. Have you ever said, why do I need this aggravation? I could enjoy life and retire. Has that thought ever crossed your mind?
Hey, Barry, is this the first time you've been on the call this year? I don't remember ever seeing that smiley face.
Well, I talked to you before the season.
So you come before the season and at the end of the season, but not any time in between.
Won this season prior to today.
Okay, let me answer your question this way. I've been coaching for 50 years. I absolutely love coaching. I never want to retire, but after we lose, I always think, what am I doing this for? Not now, not this year. Back when I was 22 years old, we'd lose a game and I'm like, oh, I got to go into the business world. There's always that feeling that you want to do better. I just want to do my job better. I spent an hour and a half this morning listening to a podcast about how to improve your teaching, because I just want to be better at doing my craft. I want to help my players. My coaches want to help our players improve. We want to have a winning program consistently. We went 7 straight years of very, very good basketball here. We were one of only 4 teams in the league. Virginia, Duke, Carolina, Virginia, and Miami were the only 4 teams that had won 10 or more conference games for whatever the number of years in a row, for 7 straight years or 6 straight years. We want to get back to that. So in order to get back to that, I've got to do my job somehow better. Maybe it's, better planning and practice, or teaching our defense better, or coming up with a new drill or two that can help us become a better passing team. Whatever it is, my coaching staff and I are working on it.
Thanks, Jim.
Now I'll go to Steve Wine from the Associated Press. Steve.
Hey, Jim, help me with my ballot. Who do you think the ACC Player of the Year is?
Hey, I was just talking to somebody else about this. The league is so strange in this way. It's very refreshing to watch Florida State. They're sitting, with Virginia at the top of the league. They play like 10, 11 guys every game. I like to vote for the teams that win. The best player on the best team, I think, because, hey, the objective is to win the league. They got so many guys you could vote for. But MJ Walker, I think, should be given very, very serious consideration because of the role that he has. But Raekwon Gray is instrumental. Scotty Barnes is instrumental. All their players have a very specific role, and they execute it so well, it's hard to just single out one guy. But if I did, I think I'd choose MJ. If I looked at Virginia and said, well, okay, let's look at Virginia. Well, they've got 3 guys.
Right.
And I'm not sure which one is more valuable, whether it's Kie Clark, because he's the catalyst for everything they do offensively and everything they do defensively. But Sam Hauser's a tremendous player for them, and so is Jay Huff. So you got 3 choices there. Then after that, I look at Louisville and I say, we got a transfer in our league in Carlick Jones that I have to give serious consideration to him. Here's a guy I never even played in the ACC. And he was at Radford a year ago, and now he's leading his Louisville Cardinal team to the NCAA tournament. You got to look closely at him. And then you got the guys at Georgia Tech, Jose Alvarado and Michael DeVoe, I think have both had sensational years. Moses Wright has had an all-conference type year. Well, there are a lot of guys. Matthew Hurt at Duke. I think Syracuse has had a number of guys who've played well. Clemson, I love Amir Sims. I would give him a lot of consideration. So the one guy I haven't mentioned yet, but you have to give Kevi Aluma a lot of attention for what he's done. He's going to get Virginia Tech to the NCAA tournament with his ability to get doubles, block shots, play defense. I mean, Michael Young and Tony Bennett and Leonard Hamilton deserve a tremendous amount of credit for the way they've coached their teams. So is that answering your question, or?
No, you didn't
helping?
narrow it down at all, but that's a good list. I understand your point with Florida State especially, right?
Yeah, it's, when we had our championship team with Shane Larkin, I thought it was clear he was our catalyst at both ends of the court, and we won the league, regular season and tournament. So if you didn't vote him the MVP, it's because you valued something other than winning. So you can do that. I think Eric Green from Virginia Tech, a team that finished last, he won the medias because he led the country in scoring. They made him player of the year in some regard. And I was like, well, that's not the way I look at things or the way I would vote.
Up next, we have Mikey Pasquale from WSEN. Mike.
Coach, I'm sorry if you answered this question already, because I was talking to James Jones earlier and I just jumped on this. Only having 6 scholarship players, what have you told your players going into games, knowing that you essentially did not have the artillery with a full squad?
Well, there are excuse me. We're a great believer in analytics and numbers, and we think numbers always tell a story. So we've tried to explain to our players, look at, with the lack of depth that we've had to endure, our opponent's bench is averaging 25 to 27 points a game, and our bench is averaging 5. That's a 20-point difference. It's the only way to overcome that is to reduce the number of possessions, to play a little bit more conservatively, try to retain our energy so that at the end of a close game, we still have enough energy to finish. And that's been very, very difficult. Not just because we only have 6 scholarship players, but most of them just play the same position. If you look at our backcourt, we basically have 3 2 guards. Isaiah Wong's a 2 guard. Cam McGusty's best position is a 2 guard. And Elijah Olani is like a 2-3. If you look at our front court, Nasir Brooks is a 5, Dan Gack's a 5, and Anthony Walker, this is really his first year playing. He's more like a 4-5 or a 5-4. We don't have a point guard. We don't have 3-point shooters. We've lacked the necessary balance in the offense to produce a lot of points. Now, if you added Chris Likes to our lineup, all of a sudden we've got a tremendous offensive threat, a guy who averages 15 and was preseason first team all conference. Sam Wardenberg's a stretch 4 who can make a 3, but he's also our most versatile front court defender and rebounder. Rodney Miller gives us a low post presence. The guys that we have had hurt throughout this season, all likelihood, would have either been starters or the very first guys off the bench in these games. And then our bench would have averaged, 15 to 20, 25 points a game, just like our opponents are doing, and we would have had a much different record.
We've got time for 2 more for Coach L. We'll go to Chris Stock and then Michelle Kaufman. Chris?
Yeah, Coach, you've mentioned your individual meetings with players, either seniors, and you touched on with Earl and Harlan. Are you done with those until the season's over? Or do you have any more
Oh,
scheduled?
no, I met with Harlan and Earl yesterday. I was telling them about the podcast that I had been listening to and about how you teach players and the difference between perception and performance. Sometimes a coach's perception is that he teaches correctly and the messages are getting across and interpreted the way he wants them interpreted. And then the reality is the player didn't understand anything the coach said. And I was talking to him yesterday about a defensive concept. And I asked them if they really understood it. And if they understood it, do they do it? And their answer was very, very honest. Yeah, they understand it and they do it once in a while. So I said to them, well, in order to get really good at the game, it's all about consistency of performance. Not only do you understand what you should do, and not only do you do it once in a while, but you do it all the time. And Harlan and Earl are in great spirits. They're not in pain right now. You know, when they were playing, they both were in pain. So right now, because they're not playing, they're not having to endure the pain. So mentally, they're very, very aware.
Last question for Coach L comes from Michelle Kaufman. Michelle.
Coach, following up on those conversations you're talking about, even though you said players are not focusing on that, they're going to wait till after the season and all that. Do you get a sense do you get a sense from the mood, the vibe that you're getting from all these players that they would like to come back and try again with a full squad, that this season was not so discouraging that they would want to throw their names into a transfer? Do you get the sense of a commitment toward your team and your program that they would want to come back, try again next year?
Well, Michelle, I'm not going to try to interpret everything they said as a decision.
Mm-hmm.
What I've asked them to do is realistically look at what their journey is going to be. Which direction are they going in? We actually, my wife and I were talking to them about paying taxes. The conversation was with 3 adults. These guys are 22 years old. I started the conversation by asking them their age, and they're all 22. Chris Likes, Dan Gack, Sam Wardenberg. I said to them, do you understand I was married when I was 21? I was making life decisions, paying a mortgage, planning a family, working a job that I wanted to develop into a career. And you guys are still enjoying the college life. What do your futures look like? You don't have to tell me today, but you need to be asking yourself, which direction do I want to go in? Do I want to return to Miami and try to complete the kind of season we thought we were going to have? Do you want to turn professional and try to earn a living now, put college behind you? Do you want to consider putting your name into a transfer portal and go someplace else and try to realize a better future where you think the grass is greener someplace else? And I don't know if I said this, I think I did earlier, but when it came to Dan Gack said, I feel like this was my freshman year because for 3 years, I didn't even get a chance to play. That's the kind of journey each guy is on. It's very different from all of them. Chris Likes was a starter from his freshman year and then didn't get a chance to play his senior year. Sam Wardenberg worked his way up into the starting lineup, and when he's about to have his best season ever, he breaks his foot. Every one of those guys would love to play professional basketball. Are they physically ready? Are they mentally ready? Is professional basketball even going to be an opportunity because of COVID? When I say that, I'm talking about if you want to go to Europe and play, for example, are there going to be any jobs available? Because these European franchises are owned by companies who might be going out of business because they haven't been able to conduct business during a year of COVID. So the job market becomes very limited. I have very good friends who are in the G League. Those guys are making $35,000 a year. Would you rather make $35,000 a year in the G League or come back and play major college basketball? So these guys have a lot of decisions to make. I won't know really which way they're leaning until probably April. It's now March the 4th. They probably have another 3 weeks. They'll all be contacted by agents, and the agents will be in their ear trying to convince them to come out. if they put their name in the portal, they'll start the whole recruiting process all over again like they're in high school. So this is no longer where college basketball was 25 years ago. You know, will a guy come back if he has a lot of followers, so he thinks he can make a lot of money on name, image, and likeness? Those are considerations. I talked to Jay Billis, and Jay Billis has indicated to me he thinks there'll be a lot of student athletes that'll make a lot of money on name, image, and likeness. Oh, who knows?